This is Matt Heffelfinger for etownbluejays.com. I'm here today with men's basketball coach Bob Schlosser as the men's basketball team gets ready to open its 2011-2012 season tomorrow night here at Thompson Gymnasium with a non-conference game against Penn State Harrisburg. And Coach Schlosser, I guess the first question on many Blue Jays fans' minds is you were picked 7th in the Commonwealth Conference this year, and a main reason for that is because you're losing 40 points per game out of your lineup. With the graduation of Keith Fogel and Joe Flanagan, and then the injury to Brian Allport. So first question to you, I guess, would be how do you guys go about trying to patch together a replacement for those 40 points that you're losing?
We knew coming in, even if Brian Allport was going to be with us, that losing Keith and Joe to graduation, that we were losing a lot of points. But, every year is different, and we defensively will be a lot better this year than we've been recently, and we can generate some offense, from our defense. But in reality, we have some inexperienced players, but we have some talented players, and I think once they, find their niche and get comfortable with their role, that the potential there, is that we can fill those voids. One way we look at it, last year we were 15-3, ranked number 1 in the region, and ended up losing 5 out of 6. A couple years ago, we were 13-1, and we were ranked nationally, and we actually ended up, stumbling down a stretch. So maybe this is one of those years where maybe, it's going to take us a little time to gel and establish our roles, but we'd like to think as we get into January and February, we're going to be a better team.
One of your strong suits last year was guard play, for sure. With Kyle McConnell running the point, he was one of the leading assist men in the Commonwealth Conference, also very good defensively, able to get a number of steals and take the ball the other way for you guys. And then you had Fogel, of course, at the 2, and you had Joe that kind of ran that swingman option. But with Kyle returning for his senior season, what do you expect out of him? He did show flashes of being able to score the ball at times as well, so I would assume he's one of your de facto leaders as a senior. What do you look for from him this year, and what do you look for from maybe some of your other guards as well?
There's no question that we really lean on Kyle. Kyle is just a great all-around player. He's a tremendous leader. He's captain along with Dan Silver this year, and both of them have done a terrific job in the first month of the season here, getting everybody else in line, so to speak. But we expect a big year from Kyle. He should be one of the top players in the conference. And he is becoming more versatile in that he is able to score the ball. As usual at this level, we have a lot of perimeter players, but there aren't a lot of true point guards like Kyle. Joe Renzi's a junior who will get some time at that position, and a freshman, Phil Wanger, who we have, we feel is going to be an outstanding player at this level, and he's going to help us early on. At the shooting guard position, it's still sort of up for grabs, and there's a number of guys that are young that, I think are going to have to look to step up to fill Keith's spot and Joe Flanagan's spot. Ben Cable looks like one of the leading guys to be a starting player at the guard position, and Joe Schwam is one of the most improved players as a sophomore at like a small forward spot. So those guys right now are probably going to start, but there are some other younger players that are pushing for minutes, and we're confident. It's a long season. We're confident as we progress and get into the league play that we're going to be competitive.
Does it help when you have players that are not an unknown commodity? You mentioned Joe Schwam, for example, and I know you've got guys like Steve Ennis and David Fuse, guys that played on your JV team last year that may have not gotten into varsity action, but you've had them in the program for a year. Does it help that kind of how they've matured over a year rather than just taking freshmen and throwing them into the fire?
Yeah, and that's what's worked for us over the years is our JV program is really a building block for our varsity. And those guys did not play varsity last year, but they got experience. They now understand our system, and they're ready to step up. And as I said, Schwam's been extremely strong for us. He looks like one of the most improved guys. But you mentioned Ennis and Fuse. Those guys are ready to play at the varsity level, we believe. And there's a few others, that we think are maybe unknown because they didn't play varsity last year, but now they've matured and they're ready to step in.
As we move inside to the big men, obviously Allport was one of those guys. You do have Andrew Montz back. He gave you great minutes off the bench in most of your games last year and was really kind of maybe a surprise to a lot of Blue Jay fans. I would assume you'll look in his direction again inside, but can you talk about maybe what you have on the blocks down there this year?
We're looking at about 5 guys that'll play at the 4 or 5 position, and Andrew is, the leading guy there now with a lot of experience and our biggest player. He's about 6'7.5". Dan Silver will start at the 4 spot. He's an undersized big guy, but he's an overachiever. He works hard. He makes a lot of things happen. And then we have Tom O'Connell, who's a junior at about 6'3", Dave Westman, who's a sophomore at about 6'4", and then freshman Lee Eckert, who's 6'4", strong inside player. So those 5 guys are going to cover those spots for us, and we're confident that a guy like Eckert's going to take him a little while to get the experience, but he's a quality player. He has great hands. Tommy O'Connell has really stepped up his game. Dave Westman played JVs last year, but he's bigger, he's stronger, and we think he's ready also. So, we have the guys. They just have to go out and continue to improve and gel as a team, and we'll get it done.
With injuries to Allport and also Tom Cooney, who gave you some good minutes late in the year last year, does it change at all the way you guys approach your game plans heading into these the whole season really, because neither of those guys are going to play this year, but does it change anything you have to do, or is it that, guys are really just built into the system and you just, you replace the guys that are injured and you just step in and go from there?
Yeah, we do have a system, and we feel that, we can plug guys into that system. It's unfortunate that we lost Tom and Brian, but we say let's control the controllables, and we don't have control over injuries. But, the fact that we do have a system and these guys know what's expected of them, and, they're ready. I think they'll step in, and it'll take a little bit of time. This is the most inexperienced team that I think I've ever had here, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. We have to look at it in a positive sense and not dwell on the negative and say, these guys are young and enthusiastic, and they're going to really get after it, and there's some real positives to that.
I guess looking ahead to your schedule, obviously we have Penn State Harrisburg here tomorrow night, and then you're going to be in York this weekend for a tournament where you'll face York Friday night, and then championship or consolation is to be determined Saturday. A lot of your home games in January, 6 of the 12 are at home in January, plus there's a stretch of 3 there in a single week right after the holidays. Do you like the way your schedule plays out? What do you look for from your schedule, and kind of, where maybe some real measuring sticks for your team outside of the conference and within the conference as well?
Yeah, we speak of obviously tomorrow night. Penn State Harrisburg is playing at the Division III level. They came, a game away from making the NCAA tournament last year, so they're not going to be a pushover. When we go to the York tournament, all 4 teams have been to the Final Four Division III in the last 10 years: Wisconsin, Stevens Point, Richard Stockton, York, and ourselves. So it's going to be a really challenging tournament, but that's a good way, I think, to get started. And then, as you said, when we come back after break, we have a number of home games there. I think that's a good fit for us. We're going to get tested early on here, but when we come back, as we get ready for the league, we're going to be able to, play at home, get our confidence, hopefully get our feet under us, and the conference is going to be as strong as ever. But, we feel we'll be in the hunt.
Well, fans, there you have a look at your 2011-2012 Elizabethtown College men's basketball team. Remember, the home opener is tomorrow night, Tuesday, 7:30, here at Thompson Gymnasium against Penn State Harrisburg. Admission to all home games is free.